The movie opens with a chilling scene of a severely injured woman limping in a desolate area, pursued by a car. Soon, her legs give way, and she collapses from exhaustion. This prompts a mysterious man to exit the vehicle and offer her water, which she drinks with trembling hands. He then hands her a gun and a single bullet, before heading back to the car. The woman desperately loads the gun, right when this happens. The man runs over her, tragically ending her life. In the next scene, we see a young woman named Bobby driving alone through the middle of the desert. She suddenly gets a call from her older sister, Anna, who begs her not to return to her toxic boyfriend. Anna offers to call their father for help, but Bobby declines because she hates him. We then learn that Bobby is a petty thief who was recently arrested, but her dad pulled strings to get her out of jail. Here, Anna asks if she hates their dad so much, why she had to find a boyfriend exactly like him, leaving Bobby speechless. Soon after, Bobby pulls into a gas station and hangs up on her sister. As she refills her tank, a local sheriff named Bill Stein approaches and mentions overhearing her heated phone call. Bobby says it is just her overbearing sister, and Bill Stein claims he understands, because he has a brother who is the same way. He then offers to buy her a soda in an effort to be friendly. Bobby politely declines, but the sheriff buys one anyway and offers it to her. Seeing this, she grows uncomfortable and refuses again, prompting the creepy cop to walk away finally. After paying for gas, Bobby continues her drive, but her sister calls again. Anna tries to remind her how her boyfriend, Rhett, hit her, and pleads with her not to go back. Still, Bobby brushes it off, saying it was just an accident, and starts speeding up. But this is noticed by a sheriff, who loudly blares his siren, ordering her to pull over. Bobby grabs her lipstick and hurriedly puts it on, hoping to smooth-talk her way out of trouble. It turns out to be Sheriff Bill Stein, and he accuses Bobby of speeding and throwing something out of the car that broke his headlight. Bobby claims she didn't throw anything, and the headlight might have already been broken. But the sheriff doesn't buy it, and hands her a hefty $1,000 fine for damaging police property. Bobby's frustration boils over, but there's nothing she can do but accept it. She then pleads with the sheriff, saying she can't afford such a hefty fine. And so, he finally agrees to let her go, but only if she gives him $300 to fix his headlight. However, she doesn't have much cash, so he orders her to return to the earlier gas station to use the ATM. During this time, her phone continues to ring with calls from Rhett, so Bill Stein takes it away from her to ensure she doesn't escape. Soon enough, Bobby returns to the gas station and asks the cashier about the ATM, but to her shock, he reveals it's been empty for a week. She then tries to buy beer, but even her card is declined. A frustrated Bobby vents about her terrible day, and describes how the sheriff has been constantly bothering her. In response, the cashier reveals that it happens frequently around here, sending a chill down her spine. He mentions the last girl he saw was also searching for an ATM, saying she needed to pay the sheriff. To add, Bill Stein is the only cop in the area, so no one has the option of reporting him as well. Upon hearing this, a terrified Bobby makes a split-second decision to forget about her phone and run away. Elsewhere, Bill Stein is sitting in his car when he receives a call from Rhett on Bobby's phone. The sheriff answers, saying, "Who the fuck is this?" before abruptly hanging up, leaving Rhett confused. Bill Stein then steps out, and uses the scope of his rifle to scan the area. And then, he notices Bobby's car in the distance, and shoots out her taillights without hesitation. Bobby doesn't notice this and keeps driving, unaware of the danger coming after her. Unfortunately for her, the creepy sheriff catches up, and forces Bobby to pull over. He accuses her of trying to flee, and points out the broken taillight, which means another violation and more fines. Bill Stein then makes Bobby stand near the car, and starts searching her body to check if she's smuggling anything illegal. At this point, Bobby feels humiliated and trapped, but knows resisting could make things worse. The sheriff then informs her that there is a diner nearby where she can withdraw money and pay him. He confiscates her license, and threatens to put her on the wanted list if she doesn't comply. With no other option, Bobby gets in her car, and drives away from there. But to her shock, she notices the sheriff pointing his gun directly at her. The vehicle swerves off the road, and her car tires sink deeply into the sand, leaving her stranded in the middle of nowhere. Moments later, Bill Stein drives away, so Bobby grabs her bag, and walks the rest of the way under the scorching sun. She finally arrives at the diner hours later, and rushes inside. There, she notices a man leaving cash on his table, before heading to the restroom.
Seizing the opportunity, Bobby snatches the cash and rushes to the payphone.
She then calls Rhett and explains her situation with the sheriff. She desperately begs for help, but her toxic boyfriend thinks she's lying and cheating on him with the sheriff. The shitty boyfriend refuses to come to her aid, prompting Bobby to angrily hang up. After that, she sits down, and a waitress named Amy approaches to take her order. Bobby asks for a coffee, but her heart sinks when she sees the damn sheriff again outside the diner. And so, she rushes to the restroom to hide. She attempts to escape through the window, but is unable to pry open the metal bars. Having no other option, she takes a deep breath and exits the restroom, where she is shocked to see her car towed to the outside of the diner. Realizing Bill Stein is playing a sick game with her, Bobby quickly comes up with an idea. She dials 911 and reports a fake robbery at the gas station, hoping to distract the sheriff. The plan works, and Bill Stein has no choice but to leave to attend to the situation. With him gone, Bobby rushes to check her car, and is stunned to find out that he has fixed her taillights. Meanwhile, inside the diner, the man whose money was stolen makes a scene and accuses Amy of being the thief. She denies it, but the skeptical owner fires her on the spot, leaving the poor girl devastated. Bobby, on the other hand, calls her sister and tries to explain her dire situation. But then, Bill Stein appears behind her. He calmly hands her phone and car keys back, warning her to be safe in the desert. He then walks away as if nothing happened, which leaves Bobby stunned and confused. Following this, Bobby decides to leave, but she spots Amy crying outside. She feels guilty about getting her fired, and learns that Amy doesn't have a car, and lives a half-hour drive away, so Bobby offers her a lift. The two girls then begin their drive, and Amy reveals that she has no family left, and has struggled with drug addiction since she was 10. Her father was also an addict, and her mother was abusive, often beating her. Upon hearing all this, Bobby also opens up about her own painful past. She tells Amy how her dad was abusive, and he would beat her and her mom. Amy asks if her dad ever beat her sister too, but Bobby surprisingly responds that he never did. Whenever he was drunk and angry, Anna would go talk to him and he would suddenly calm down. Amy pauses, and then suggests that maybe their dad was abusing Anna in a different way. Which is why he never hit her. Here, the truth hits Bobby like a ton of bricks when she realizes Anna had been protecting her all along. She begins to cry, and Amy proceeds to comfort her. Moments later, Bobby finally confesses that she was the one who stole the money and apologizes. Amy, surprisingly calm, says she already knew and doesn't mind, as she hated the place anyway. Bobby feels relieved, and opens up about a sheriff who has been harassing her all day. Surprisingly, Amy mentions his name and reveals that Bill Stein is a creepy man whom she has seen hitting on young women. She claims that many girls come to the diner, claiming their car has broken down, but they always appear terrified when the sheriff arrives. And then all of a sudden Bobby watches in horror to see a lifeless Amy shot in the head. As if that wasn't enough, she notices Bill Stein's car approaching in the distance, and panics. Bobby starts her car, and speeds away, sobbing and apologizing to Amy for causing her death. Behind her, the sheriff slams into her car multiple times, and speaks through the loudspeaker, teasing that he thought she enjoyed playing these games. Luckily, Bobby spots a parked truck and pulls over, hoping to find some help. She desperately pleads with the truck driver for help, so he immediately grabs a shotgun. Just then, Bill Stein shows up from behind, ordering the driver to lower his weapon. He claims Bobby is wanted for murder, and her victim is in her car. Bobby insists the sheriff is the real killer, but he calmly responds that she suffers from delusions, and robbed a gas station earlier that day. Enraged, Bobby shouts that he's lying. And then, horrified, Bobby jumps back into her car, and drives away from there to escape the psycho. The sheriff then drags the truck driver's lifeless body aside, and begins to chase her. As night falls, Bobby's nerves are on edge when she suddenly notices headlights behind her. Panic floods her chest as she fears it's the sheriff again. She tightens her grip on the steering wheel, but the car speeds past her, bringing a wave of relief. Soon, Bobby spots a garage sign, and pulls over, desperate for shelter. Once inside, she takes out her phone, hoping to call for help, but the lack of a signal only deepens her dread, so she decides to wait out the night there. Not long after, Bobby hears a car approaching, so she hides and gets ready to attack. When a figure emerges, she strikes immediately, but it turns out to be just an ordinary mechanic named Ed, so Bobby apologizes, and frantically explains her ordinary. Ed assures her he'll call his boss, who will know what to do. He then takes her to the office, where they begin drinking hot chocolate. Bobby tends to Ed's wounds caused by her, and thanks him for giving her shelter. But soon, a car pulls up at the garage, and Bobby asks for the bathroom to clean up, so Ed directs her to a room and rushes outside to greet his boss. When Bobby steps inside the room, she quickly realizes it's not a restroom. The place is filled with strange kinds of stuff, and her heart skips a beat as she notices multiple IDs of women, right when Bill Stein suddenly shows up. He calmly explains how he killed all those girls, and how no one would ever catch him since he's the only cop here. He begins recounting how far each girl traveled before meeting their aunt, and asks Bobby how far she will go. Surprisingly, Ed knocks her unconscious, and it's revealed that the two are actually brothers, who hunt innocent women for their sick game. When Bobby wakes up, she finds herself tied to a chair.
Ed then slides his hand under her clothes and starts touching her inappropriately.
Bobby starts crying, so Bill Stein rushes in and beats Ed, prompting him to leave. He then turns to Bobby and apologizes, saying his brother has a self-control problem. Terrified, Bobby asks why they are doing this, and Bill Stein explains that his brother was born with a mental disorder, and has been bullied his entire life. Being labeled retarded, he claims it's all because of a woman who couldn't control herself, and her sin ruined his brother. He thinks that all women are the same, deceitful, lying, and spreading poison wherever they go. Up next, Bill Stein pulls out a knife, and explains how he made it from his mother's jaw after he killed her. It is clear that he blames his mother for his brother's condition, and she probably was not nice to them. He believes that all women are the same, so he enjoys torturing and killing them to teach them a lesson. Upon hearing all this, an enraged Bobby curses at the psychopath and spits at him.
But Bill Stein remains unnervingly calm, and wipes his face without a flicker of emotion.
He then taunts her, saying the next highway is just half a mile away, and if she can make it there, she's free. Moments later, Ed grabs Bobby by the mouth, and Bill Stein shockingly proceeds to slice off her tongue with a knife. Bobby loses consciousness, while the sheriff casually tosses her severed tongue into the sink, and Ed stuffs a cloth into her mouth. Sometime later, Bobby wakes up, and realizes her hands are no longer tied. However, she is horrified to find her tongue gone, which she finds in the sink. The poor woman looks for the brothers, and notices them watching cartoons in another room. Seizing the moment, she escapes, knowing this is her only chance to survive their twisted game. The brothers notice this, and Bill Stein says he will give her a 5-minute head start before going after her again. Later, Bobby stumbles through the dark, her body shaking with fear and exhaustion. Suddenly, car headlights appear behind her, and she realizes Bill Stein has caught up. She tries to run, but her legs give out, and she collapses to the ground. During this, Bill Stein checks his car's meter and notes that she's traveled 800 yards, which he writes on her ID. He approaches her, and hands her a bottle of water as he always did, which Bobby promptly throws away. The psycho then hands her a gun and a bullet, telling her it's her last chance at freedom. Following this, the sheriff returns to his car, while Bobby loads the gun, but points it at her head instead. She unexpectedly pulls the trigger and shooting herself. Seeing this, Bill Stein is annoyed, muttering that it wasn't supposed to work like this. But then, as he approaches her. Next, Bobby rushes to his car and tries to leave, but an injured Bill Stein catches up. She decides to flee on foot, but he grabs her and pins her to the ground, choking her. Desperate, she grabs a nearby rock and smashes it into his head with all her strength. The sheriff falls, and Bobby seizes the moment to run back to the car. But as she drives away, she notices in the rearview mirror that the man is slowly getting up. Enraged that her tongue is gone, she makes a U-turn, stomps on the accelerator, and drives straight at him. Bill Stein tries to shoot at her with a 1-bullet gun, but misses. And so, she runs over him, crushing him to death. She finally lets out a sob of relief, knowing the nightmare is over, even though her tongue is not there anymore. Sometime later, Bobby unexpectedly returns to the garage. She grabs the sheriff's gun and carefully makes her way inside. She retrieves her severed tongue, which she places inside some ice from the freezer. But then, Ed appears and asks if she's okay, but Bobby can't answer that, so she immediately stabs him in the throat, before leaving the statue alone. In the final scene, Bobby drives away from there, and soon receives a call from Red. However, she is determined to leave her toxic past behind and throws the phone out. The movie ends with Bobby driving toward the city lights, just as dawn arrives, marking a new beginning free from the horrors she endured.